His name inside the cartel was Marco. His real name was never released to the public. He was a 12-year veteran of the Drug Enforcement Administration, fluent in Spanish, raised on the Texas border, trained at Quantico, and in the spring of 2022, he walked through a door in Laredo with a fake identity, a prepaid phone, and a cover story that would take 3 years to unravel. By the time he came out, he had sat at dinner tables with men responsible for thousands of American overdose deaths. He had watched money counted, he had watched drugs loaded, and he had watched one of his closest contacts inside the network get murdered 4 days before the arrest operation went live. This is the story of the deepest undercover operation the DEA has run on American soil in the last decade, and most of it has never been told publicly. If you want to understand how federal law enforcement actually dismantles a cartel from the inside, not from a helicopter, not through a wiretap, but from a chair at the same table, stay with us. Subscribe right now, because what this man saw and survived will change everything you think you know about the war on drugs. His entry point into the network was a man named Gilberto Soto Fuentes, a mid-level fentanyl distributor operating out of a cell phone repair shop on the south side of San Antonio. Gilberto was not a kingpin. He was not a name anyone in Washington had on a list. He was a manager, the kind of man the cartel builds its American operations around. Invisible, reliable, deniable. He drove a used Honda Accord. He attended his son's soccer games on Saturday mornings. He paid his taxes on a reported income of $34,000 a year as a small business owner. And between 2019 and 2022, he had moved an estimated 600 kilograms of fentanyl through San Antonio, Austin, and Dallas. The DEA had been watching Gilberto for 8 months before Marco ever made contact. 8 months of surveillance photographs, financial records, and intercepted messages that told them enough to know the shape of the organization above him, but not enough to reach it. Gilberto was not the target. Gilberto was the door. Marco's cover identity had been constructed over 18 months before deployment. A Texas-born Mexican-American with a real social security number, a real apartment lease history in El Paso, a real credit file, and 2 real arrests. Both minor, both sealed under a federal intelligence arrangement with a court in the Western District of Texas. His criminal record was real enough to pass a background check run by the cartel's own people. His story was that he had moved product for a smaller organization in El Paso that had since been destroyed by the DEA. He was looking for new work. He was careful, experienced, and available. The first meeting with Gilberto happened in a parking lot outside a Whataburger in Laredo. It lasted 11 minutes. Marco bought him a coffee. Gilberto said almost nothing. At the end of the meeting, Gilberto asked Marco for a phone number and said he would think about it. That was considered a success. Because men like Gilberto do not say yes to strangers. They say maybe, and they watch. For the next 4 months, Marco existed on the edge of the network. He ran 2 small deliveries, packages he did not know the contents of, picked up from locations he was told, and dropped at addresses he was not given in advance. Each time, he reported everything to his DEA handler through a system so compartmentalized that fewer than 6 people in the entire agency knew the full picture of what he was building. Each delivery was allowed to proceed. The narcotics reached their destination. That decision, allowing real drugs to move through American streets to protect a deeper operation, is one that federal investigators do not make easily. It is the central moral weight of every long-term undercover mission. You accept a limited harm today in exchange for the possibility of a larger one stopped tomorrow. Drop a comment below. Should the DEA be allowed to let a drug shipment reach its destination in order to protect an undercover agent and a longer investigation? This is a real debate inside federal law enforcement. Tell me what you think. By month 6, Gilberto trusted Marco enough to introduce him to a man who called himself El Contador, the accountant. He was never given a real name. His face was the kind of face you forget immediately, medium build, mid-40s, the kind of man who could sit next to you on a flight and you would not remember him by the time you landed. El Contador managed the financial side of a distribution network that the DEA would later determine was moving products supplied directly from the Sinaloa Cartel's Sonora Plaza across the Texas border. He did not touch drugs, he did not meet drivers, he processed money. And he did it through a system so layered that even the IRS Criminal Investigation Division would later spend 4 months reconstructing it from the records Marco helped them obtain. Marco spent 14 months building a relationship with El Contador. They met in restaurants, in parking garages, once on a fishing boat on Corpus Christi Bay on a Tuesday morning where El Contador caught 2 redfish and talked for 3 hours about real estate investment strategies, never once using the words that would have ended the conversation if said carelessly. In those 14 months, Marco transmitted 847 separate intelligence reports to his handler, each one a piece of a structure that no satellite, no wiretap, and no financial audit had been able to reach from the outside. What Marco documented was not just a drug operation, it was a parallel financial economy running inside American cities. Restaurants, car washes, 3 used car dealerships, a landscaping company with contracts in 6 Texas counties, and a private security firm with state licensing that provided armed guards to events across the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. Every one of these businesses was a node in the same network, every employee a potential courier, every transaction a potential laundering mechanism. By the fall of 2024, the DEA had enough to build a federal case against 23 individuals. The case included charges of narco trafficking conspiracy, money laundering, RICO, and under the Trump administration's February 2025 designation of the Sinaloa Cartel as a foreign terrorist organization, material support for terrorism. Federal prosecutors in the Western District of Texas described it privately as the most complete financial map of a domestic cartel distribution network they had ever been handed by a single source. But then something went wrong. In January 2025, 4 days before the arrest operation was scheduled to go live, a man named Hector Ruiz was found dead in a parking structure in San Antonio. Hector was a peripheral contact of Marco's inside the network, a driver. Someone who had met Marco twice and said nothing significant either time. The DEA's working theory is that Hector had been suspected of talking to someone, not Marco specifically, not federal agents specifically, just suspected. And in this organization, suspicion was a death sentence. Marco was pulled from the field the same night Hector's body was found. Not because his cover had been blown, but because the organization's reaction to a suspected informant meant the environment had become too volatile to hold. The operation was accelerated by 72 hours. What had been planned as a coordinated 4-week takedown was compressed into a single morning. On February 3, 2025, federal agents executed 23 simultaneous arrest warrants across San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and Corpus Christi. Gilberto Soto Fuentes was taken into custody outside his son's school at 7:40 in the morning. He was wearing a jacket with his son's soccer team logo on the back. El Contador was arrested in a hotel lobby in downtown Austin, checking out after what hotel records showed was a 3-night stay under a name that did not match any federal database. He had 9 prepaid phones in his luggage and $140,000 in cash distributed across 6 envelopes. 19 other defendants were taken without incident. The total seizures from the operation included 14 kilograms of fentanyl, 280 kilograms of methamphetamine, $6.2 million in cash, and access to financial records documenting $180 million in laundered revenue moving through the network over 5 years. The used car dealerships, the landscaping company, the private security firm, all were federally dissolved within 30 days of the arrests. Gilberto Soto Fuentes pleaded guilty in September 2025 to narco trafficking conspiracy and money laundering. He was sentenced to 27 years in federal prison. El Contador, whose real name was released in the indictment as Rodrigo Palma Esteban, a Mexican national who had been living in the United States on a series of fraudulent business visas since 2017, pleaded not guilty. His trial is scheduled to begin in the fall of 2026. Marco's identity remains protected under federal law. He has not given interviews. He will not. His DEA handler, speaking without attribution to the Wall Street Journal in March 2025, described him this way. He lived inside something most people cannot imagine for 3 years and came out with his integrity intact. That is not a small thing. In this work, that is everything. Hector Ruiz, the driver found dead in the parking structure 4 days before the raid, had 3 children. His case remains open. No one has been charged. That is the part the operation reports do not include. The part that does not appear in the press release about seizure values and arrest numbers. A man who was not an informant, who had never spoken to a federal agent in his life, died because he was near enough to something real that the organization could not take the risk. That is how these networks protect themselves, not through loyalty, through the elimination of doubt. The DEA's Undercover program continues. There are other Marcos inside other networks right now, sitting at other tables, reporting to handlers whose names will never be published, watching things that will take years to become indictments. Most of what they learn will never become a headline. Most of what they prevent will never be counted. The war on the cartel's American infrastructure is not fought only on highways with armored vehicles and search warrants. Some of it is fought across a restaurant table on a Tuesday afternoon in San Antonio over a cup of coffee between 2 men whose real names neither one of them is using. If you want to know what happens when Rodrigo Palma Esteban goes to trial and whether the DEA's financial reconstruction of this network reaches any higher into the Sinaloa command structure, subscribe. We are tracking every development. If this gave you a picture you have never seen before, you know what to do.